views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the hosts and guests, and not necessarily those of the staff and management of WWDB-TV.
Y'all ready for this?
Booyah! We are back. It is 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, January 16th. That means it's time for another installment of Southern Nevada Sports News coming to you from WWDBTV.com. My name is Bill Miller, co-host along with
Jeff Belknap.
And once again, we are very happy to be here to share with you our views and our opinions because per the disclaimer at the beginning of the show, it is our opinion, and truly it is the one that counts.
Absolutely.
That's right. Good to see you, my man.
You too.
Yeah. A very busy week.
Yes.
In the NFL, of course, the the big games over the weekend, the divisional championships, whatever they call them, conference. No,
yeah,
they're not conference. They're something.
They're divisional.
Divisional.
That
That's
would
it.
be divisional.
Yeah. And so now there were four.
Yes.
And really, the cream has risen to the top.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of the matchups, we're looking at all the division champions.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's probably the way it should be.
Well, I mean, I guess that's what the sports books might want to happen. Clear all those long shot tickets and
get them all out of there.
Yeah, just get them all
Not
out.
have to sweat another 2 weeks.
Yeah, they're all good now. They don't have to worry about any big payouts because some team, ended up pulling it out.
Yeah, well, there was some, as you mentioned, beforehand, 2 weeks ago, there were some big numbers out there in terms of odds, some major long shots, and those teams were playing very well. Let's take, for instance, the Indianapolis Colts KC game. The Colts were red hot going into that game, and even though KC had certainly a great record, and won the AFC West and really kind of a shootout, it was still they had trouble. Their defense, as you mentioned before the show, we were just kind of 27th, I think you mentioned
26th or 27th in the league.
Yeah,
and then literally goose egged the Colts offense.
Yeah.
I mean, it was embarrassing, with the exception of a block punt for a touchdown. I mean, it was just complete dominance.
Honestly, I think the Colts thought that they would kind of go out there like a house on fire.
Yeah.
Like they steamroll Houston, put up some real quick points, get the crowd out of it. Which, by the way, look, Kansas City is one of those teams and cities that they're always near and dear to my heart because of family there. I mean, just the way the crowd was with these snowballs. I mean,
oh yeah, I didn't see that.
And Andy Reid just going ballistic on the sidelines.
As he should have been. I mean, those are his hometown people. They should be doing better than that.
Absolutely. I honestly would have expected much more out of the KC fans. And
now, if they were Cleveland fans, we would have understood.
Or Giant fans or Philadelphia fans.
Oh, Philadelphia fans, true. Yeah.
Certainly Giant fans. I remember living there in the big snowball. Front page of the New York Post. This guy, giant jersey, in full swing, and I think by the end of the day, he'd been clearly identified. This is well before internet or anything like that, and he'd been arrested. And yeah.
Well, I mean, that's a pretty serious thing. I mean, people, we've all had snowball fights, and it being fun. But when somebody doesn't know a snowball is coming.
Yeah, that's the difference.
That's when you're having a snowball fight and you're throwing it back and forth at each other, that's one thing.
There was one play where actually the snowball managed to make it to the feet of the punter for the Chargers.
That's a nice throw.
That's a pretty, maybe they should find out who he is, and maybe the Royals should have a chat with him, especially after last season, because they could definitely use some help. But, again, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I was riding that luck bandwagon. I mean, I was very happy that the Chiefs won because, again, but I was just thinking that, luck was kind of on a roll, and but Kansas City defense picked a great time to show up, and
Well, I mean, even as well as Kansas City played and everything went, you can't shake a stick at Luck's season. I mean, definitely comeback player of the year, coming off an injury and came back and just dominated. Take your head off to the Colts. I mean, that's something to look forward to going into next season.
Yeah, by all means, the future is bright for the Indianapolis Colts after really the last 3 or 4 years kind of just being a head scratcher.
Yeah. Just
in terms of him, and hats off to their offensive line for really making it happen. I don't know what he gave these guys for Christmas, but
some Rolex.
I hope it was some Rolex watches and not just some autographed footballs.
Well, speaking of mediocre teams, the Dallas Cowboys. So I saw like literally one of the funniest things that I've seen in a while, and I was gonna retweet it on our Instagram, which is SN Sports Network. And thank you, by the way, the fans that have been following our page. We had one of our best last couple of weeks of, I think we had somewhere close to 100,000 people go on our page, which is like the best month that we've ever had, I think.
Woo!
And so thank you, folks, for doing that. I almost retweeted this, but there was so much profanity. They're like, I don't mind a little profanity, but this was like over the top. But it was basically a guy talking about Dallas fans, and this guy was a Dallas fan, and it was the funniest thing that I've ever saw because he was talking about like them just being mediocre, and then the fans being okay with that, But you're talking about a team that hasn't won into a championship game since what, 95?
Yeah.
So they've won playoff games, but not won. They've never made it to the NFC Championship since 1995. And these are the same fans that year after year continue to talk about like how great Dallas is.
How about them Cowboys?
I mean, it's embarrassing.
And in a sense, they're absolutely right. How about them Cowboys? And it should be, where do we go from here?
Yeah.
We talked about that game.
Yeah.
And you had mentioned, and rightfully so, that if they were able to run the ball, and the defense also step up and play, as well as they have been playing.
Yep.
They could win that game.
Well, I actually gave them as a pick based upon the fact that their defense had been playing better.
And the fact that the Rams defense had not been able to stop the run.
Stop anybody, yeah. Exactly.
Who would have thought on the same day, two teams that really had their against the run had been dubious, certainly in the last several weeks.
Yeah.
Suddenly stepped up their game because they literally, Ezekiel Elliott was just simply a non-factor.
Yeah, he got stymied. But it wasn't even just Dallas's lack of offense. Their defense, it's been a while since I've watched a professional game that where literally looked like a college team playing. I mean, C.J. Anderson, this guy, he's played for 3 or 4 teams this year? I mean, he's been bounced around.
Yeah, he's been on the move.
He ends up landing on the Rams. He and Gurley both ran for 100 yards in that last game. I think they had 275 or almost 300 yards.
They had
rushing.
A lot of yards rushing.
It was like 6 yards, 8 yards, 13 yards, 12 yards, 14 yards. I mean, it was embarrassing.
And it was, just from the standpoint, it was embarrassing. If you're sitting there and you're a Cowboy fan, you knew what was coming.
Yeah.
They're going to run the ball. And they weren't running really, east and west and cutting up field or things like that. There was a lot of A and B gap, runs where they were picking off big yards. If you can't stop the run, you're in trouble. Everybody knows that.
Well, the funniest thing was I'm watching the game with a buddy that's 20 years we've been friends, and we're both football fans, so we're watching it. And I was making the little comments where I wonder if they're going to run here. I wonder if they're gonna run. And it was towards the end of the game. Dallas was down by 8, and they still had a chance. They needed to get the ball back, and they would. I figured it out where they would have had about 30 or 40 seconds to go down the field. And the Rams are just running the ball because obviously they're trying to run the clock out.
Yeah.
And I couldn't understand it. Like C.J. Anderson busted a 12-yard run. I'm like, how does that happen? Like when you know that they're going to run.
When you know they're going to run it.
You know they're going to run. How do you get a 12-yard run?
Yeah, look, this isn't the second quarter where, it could be a draw play.
Yeah.
Play action. We're running the ball real well. Now we're going to put it in the air. Now this is we're going to kill
they're going to run. They're going to try.
Nobody is going to try to throw it other than maybe Pete Carroll. Nobody is going to try to throw the ball in that instance.
Oh my God!
And again,
so
it's
terrible.
And I was thinking to myself, you got to be kidding me. This is
But you know what? It was good. It was good because when we're watching games like that, what I do like about that is I like to laugh. And I had a lot of laughs watching that Dallas game. I mean, it was a lot of fun watching it.
Yeah, I look for the Cowboy haters out there, and there are a lot of them. They were just feasting in it.
Yeah.
And as a Ram fan, an LA Ram fan, I really did not want to see the Rams lose to the Cowboys. I mean, anybody, but just not the Cowboys, because I know how Cowboy fans react when they win any game, yet alone a playoff game, because there's been so few playoff games that they've won over the last several years. It's like, oh, you should have expected it, and again, afraid, how about them Cowboys?
Yeah.
Look, at the end of the day, do they have reason to think highly for next year? No, and I'll state my reasons why. Because there's going to be a better Philadelphia Eagle team, there's going to be a better Washington Redskin team, and there's going to be a much better New York Giant team.
Well, what I'm hoping is the Giants actually go out and get a quarterback, something. I mean, whether they do it through free agency or if they do it through a draft, Barkley is an absolute beast. The guy is like exactly what you want as a player, but you have to have like weapons around him. Their defense didn't play terrible at the end of the year.
No.
So, I mean, if you can get a quarterback, and you know what, I always liked Eli. He's just a little long in the tooth in a sense.
Yes.
It's time for him to go.
It is.
We'll see what happens.
Look, hats off to him. He's had a good career. A lot of luck, in some instances, ball bouncing the right way, but the ball bounced the right way.
Yeah, he's got
and
two
you
Super
can never
Bowls.
take away the fact that he's got 2 Super Bowl rings.
Yeah.
And but I think that they have to go with a free agent. I don't think that New York fans are going to want them to draft a quarterback, watch Eli struggle for another year, and then bring in another guy that 2 years from now is going to struggle because he's not going to have a lot of reps next year.
Yeah.
And so this is going to be a 3-4 year project. And that just doesn't sit well with Giant fans. They expect more.
Well,
and they've got a lot of very expensive, contracts that are going to be coming up. They've already renewed, Odell Beckham, which was a mistake. But they've already done that. So that money's there, And these other guys, they're going to be sitting around thinking to myself, well, no, we'll wait till we actually win some games. I'm cool. No, it's ego, and it's about getting paid in the NFL. And I don't blame them.
It has to be. I mean, you have a short window.
You have a very short window.
What is it, 3 to 4 years, the average player?
But
most of these guys struggle just to get the tenure.
Yeah.
Which is to play the 4 years. So.
But going back to what I was saying about the Cowboys, future, look how they did struggling with a very weak NFC East this year. Mm-hmm. And they literally didn't win that division until the last game of the year.
Yep.
Yeah. So what happens next year?
The same thing. I mean, it's a crab barrel.
They're crabs in a barrel. That's the NFC East. It's dog eat dog. It's a cannibalistic division, and there's no one to blame down there in Dallas except Jerry Jones.
Yeah. Well, I'm not. I have no anticipation, but I was thinking about it actually for a few minutes before those games started on Saturday. What if the NFC East would have represented in the championship game? Like, what if those two teams would have been playing each other?
And the Cowboys.
I mean, that would have been pretty epic.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
absolutely.
It definitely would have been a good game and a brawl, would have probably broke out. But
it's, it's that tradition of that division.
Okay, so the Patriots didn't have much problem with the Chargers. I was unfortunately driving. I was in L.A. It was raining, which was like L.A. in rain and traffic is absolutely the biggest nightmare ever. But I was able to listen to literally the entire first half from Rancho Cucamonga to Rancho Palos Verdes. The entire first half.
I'm not surprised.
That's usually, it takes me about 35 to 45 minutes, somewhere around there.
If you're lucky.
It took the entire first half. Where literally when I got there, the halftime was almost over. I mean, that's
which
how long
essentially the game was over. It was 35-7, I think, at that half. And it was just the Patriots doing what they were going to do. San Diego made somewhat of a game of it, but they waited too late to kick into gear.
Yeah.
And they picked a bad time to have a bad road game.
Well, the thing about it is we talked about it last week. The Patriots is really good, and it doesn't always equate to the talent. I mean, Belichick just has a way of putting the people in there. And when I knew that they were in trouble, I think it was like about 3rd and 14, and Edelman caught a pass and broke like 6 tackles to get the first down. I was like, if that's happening, then this is going to be a long day for Chargers.
It didn't look like the same San Diego defense that played Baltimore the week before.
Yeah.
But we could say that about all of the teams that lost this past weekend. The week before, they looked much better.
Yep.
And that was true. But again, San Diego's season, you have to wonder about Rivers. Because this was kind of that year that things kind of came together. They almost ended up winning the West. They played much better unfortunately on the road than they did at home. If they had just played with some semblance, they could have very easily have knocked off KC. But I don't know what's going to happen, but they were, I think, a very big surprise as far as the NFL was concerned.
Well, I could tell you this. I usually try to go to sports stores while I'm in other cities so I can pick up some apparel. I got you the Rams hat.
Yes, you did.
So I went to this store, and it was a fan. They had a fan area, right? So it said really big on it. It said Chargers and Rams. So I saw it from a distance, so I'm like, all right, I'm going to go check that out. I get over there. There was one Rams-style shirt and about 7 Charger shirts, and 80% of the merchandise that was left was Charger merchandise. They're playing in a place that they're not even wanted, in a sense, playing in LA.
And I think that given the size of the stadium where they're playing at in Carson, it only seats about 28,000 people.
Yep.
And I think that the Chargers owners, when they hiked up the tickets, the cost, saying it was this unique experience where once they move, they'll never have that opportunity to watch a game with that kind of atmosphere, blah, 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 blah. Charger fans in San Diego just stopped going.
Yeah.
That they were done. And it was very evident because if you looked at their home games, it was mostly the visiting teams that were represented. Now, you used to see that with Charger games at home in San Diego against the Raiders. There were more Raider fans than there ever were Charger fans, because Charger fans, in a sense, were almost afraid to go to the games.
Yeah.
Maybe rightfully so. But they just didn't have that kind of passion from their fans. But you look at the games against the Broncos, the Chiefs, of course the Raiders, it looked like those were home games for those teams.
Yeah. Well, I think that's going to happen here. When the Raiders get here, I think what's probably going to happen is a lot of these teams that are coming from, that are playing on the road are going to come to Vegas to see their team. Which happened a lot with the Golden Knights in year one, but it's not
especially
happening
with
as
the Red
much.
Wings.
Yeah, Red Wings fan. I mean, I thought I was in Joe Louis. Honestly, when I walked in there, it was at least 75 to 80% red.
And you could hear it every time the Red Wings scored. I remember that game. I was at that crummy meeting for that local, semi-pro nonsense. And
let me give a shout out to
the game was up on the TV. I'm going like, Jeff's there.
Yeah. Speaking of semi-pro, we call it developmental. The LDFL is actually playing some games at StubHub this coming weekend.
Are they really?
Not actually in the stadium, but they have some side fields.
Yeah, they do. Practice fields, yeah.
Yeah, and because of the teacher strike, we had a little bit of issues with the fields, the home fields.
Right.
So we were able to solidify the practice fields there, and it's going to be interesting. I mean, we're the first one at that level to play at the StubHub Center. So,
well done.
Yeah, we were able to break through, and it was pretty cool. So we only have about 10 more minutes. So let's talk about the Rams and Eagles. I mean, what did you see in that Rams and Eagles game?
Well, there was the last game, Philadelphia and New Orleans.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah.
Philadelphia had that dream start, 14-0.
Yeah.
And it looks like, okay, the Foles magic, it's going to continue. And that was the last time they scored. And this was in the first quarter.
Yep.
And honestly, New Orleans, what good coaches do and what good teams do, they regroup, and they just simply played their game, and they won. The pick, Just going to call it that.
Yeah.
You know, Foles to Alfron.
Yep.
I'm sorry, Jeffries.
Yep.
Yeah.
Alshon.
Yep. And right through his hands. Now, of course, we know that he had a rib injury, that it played through. And, I think if anybody has ever had like bruised ribs or something like that, to reach up, is a stretch.
Yep.
It's painful. Know that you're also probably going to get drilled. Certainly it's something to think about. But this guy is a stud. And, to see his reaction after that game, and then Foles and other players coming up over to him and saying, hey, man, But, he really took it personally. And he but I think that it was a lost opportunity for the Eagles.
Yeah.
Because, I think that everything was clicking, and,
Well, I know that with Jeffrey, he made some comments about his ex-team, which was the Bears, and talking about the kicker especially. So I know in Chicago they were really ribbing this guy really bad.
No pun intended.
No pun intended.
Okay.
Yeah. But they were really giving him a hard time because he had talked so much smack about the kicker and the way that they got knocked out of the playoffs or something. Then you go out there and misplay a ball. Like, I don't know the best way to put that other than misplay. But.
Oh yeah, I mean it's you have to wonder. I mean it was just for a first down.
Yeah.
It wasn't, in the end zone or anything like that. You still got to get to the end zone. You still got to score a touchdown to win the game.
But to me, putting it together the way that the Saints did, they didn't crack. I think it's the largest 14-point margin was the largest, I think, in Saints comeback.
Probably for the Saints because they're in a way kind of used to kind of getting out in front.
Yeah.
And then kind of holding on to the lead. But it was, again, everything happened pretty quick. It was 14-0 before you knew it.
Yeah.
And but they did manage to come back. The defense stood tall. And so now we've got, of course, this weekend's games.
Really good games.
Yeah. And so the first game is going to be the Rams at New Orleans.
Yeah.
That's the early game. And, what people were talking about at the beginning of the year as far as the NFC, the Rams and New Orleans being, arguably the two better teams. And here they are in the NFC Championship game.
Yep.
Yeah. Who do you like?
I'm going to ride out my play.
Yeah.
My play of the year has been, over and over I've said it, the Rams in New England. I'm going to ride those two teams out.
All right.
But I can tell you this, that these are two games that I'm actually pretty excited to watch.
Yeah.
Because like you're talking about, 45 and 15, 49 and 15, all of these teams, 49 and 15, the four teams that are left.
Yeah.
So you're we got the cream of the crop, playing right now. And, I really like Drew Brees. And I was just watching a video that has the Saints 29% chance, the Chiefs 28% chance. Whoops, that's a 0. I hope it's higher than that. The Rams at 22% chance, and the Patriots again at 21% chance.
Yeah.
So I think that LA kind of showed something to me last week. In the beginning of the season, especially like week 1, when I saw the Saints defense, I was like, what this, because everyone was touting them as the team and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And their defense was just horrid the first 4 weeks, but they really came back to earth. How much can they learn from what happened last week, I guess, is the biggest question.
Yeah.
Watching that Dallas game, breaking down that film, not being that team that gives up those big chunks of yards, that's basically what it's going to come down to.
I'm Jay is a diehard Saints fan.
Yep.
And, my mom's landscaper, Jason Martinez, he and his family, they're just monster Saints fans. They usually go at least once or twice a year down to New Orleans.
Nice.
Or if they're close, they'll go to watch them
road
play.
Game. Nice,
yeah.
Nice.
And he has promised one hell of a Super Bowl party.
All right, well, as long as I'm invited, then.
Yeah, if the Saints make it to the Super Bowl.
Wait, gumbo too?
I don't know if he'll do gumbo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but man, he does just fantastic
Some po'
menudo,
boys
and plus he just grills the, he master of the grill.
Oh, nice.
But he's talking about just an epic Super Bowl party if the Saints win.
Beautiful.
And but I honestly believe that I think the Rams have what it takes to knock the Saints off. And I think that I'm going with the Rams. I'm a Ram fan. And I'll feel bad, for Jay and for not too long. But
well, it doesn't get any better than that when your two teams are in it. But on the other side, you have a team on the other side too.
Yes, I do.
With KC and New England.
Yeah, and so we've got New England, and that's the sort of the afternoon game.
Yeah.
Our time, I think it's like 3:40 or 20.
Yeah, 3:40.
Yeah,
6:40 Eastern.
And you've got the Patriots. On the rare instances, the Patriots actually on the road for an AFC championship.
Yep.
And I think that the Patriots tend to rely on that home comfort, that field and those fans, people having to go to Foxborough, and all of that tradition up there. And I'm gonna go with the Chiefs. I think that I don't think clearly the Chiefs cannot afford to let the Patriots get out of the chute.
Yeah.
And just walk up and down the field like they did in the first half against Chargers. I just don't see that happening. Also, depending on what the weather is going to be like, both teams are used to playing in kind of a messy environment.
Yep.
Except this is grass, and this is not usually what the Patriots are used to.
We all remember the game earlier in the year when New England played KC.
Yeah. One
of the best games, but what happened was the experienced quarterback came through and won that game.
Yeah.
And then we got LA is going to play one of these teams. Either way, we're going to have, in my opinion, the two best games that I've seen this year were the New England and Kansas City game.
Yeah.
And the New England and Chiefs game that was supposed to be played down in Mexico, but it moved to LA. That Monday night game that they scored 100 points.
It was KC and the Rams. Yeah.
KC and the Rams, yeah.
Yeah.
So either way, we're going to see some good football. I mean, and this is what it really boils down to. You got good quarterbacks. You got two Hall of Famers. You got two potential Hall of Famers. You got running backs that are great on all over the place. You got talent. You have the best coaches. You have the youngest coach that's done everything. I mean, come on.
You've got two coaches who are, certainly one coach is destined for the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
And
Andy Reid is too.
Yeah, and Andy Reid, and possibly
and
Sean Peyton. Yeah. So you have definitely two for coaches for the Hall of Fame, and maybe one more.
Yep.
This is and again, as far as the NFL is concerned, they could not have wished scripted where you have the
Wait, are you implying that it's scripted?
No.
He's implying that it's scripted.
That where you have the 4 division champs
Yeah.
facing each other, and knowing that you've got 2 #1 seeds no matter what.
Well, I'm not a conspiracy guy, but I do believe in the scripting.
Yeah.
And I'm going to prove the scripting. We can go back to this show. We'll make a note on this. If the Raiders go to the Super Bowl in 2020, we'll know that this is scripted.
We'll know it's rigged.
Yeah, because they need to pay for this stadium, and that's exactly how they're going to do it.
Making sure that's a long season.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. Okay, so there we go. You have LA versus Kansas City.
Got LA.
I have LA versus New England.
Yep.
And we'll talk more about it next week.
All right. Just that dream replay, Kansas City and LA in the Super Bowl. And then I guarantee you if they do make it to take the under, because there's no way in the world there's going to be 105 points on the board.
That's right.
Yeah. All right. We're going to take a break, and then when we come back, we're going to switch gears, and we're going to be reaching out to a young prep star from northern Reno, up in northern Nevada, out of Bishop Manogue High School. This guy put up some incredible numbers. So hopefully we're going to be talking to Peyton, P.J. Dixon in a few minutes. Southern Nevada Sports News coming to you from WWDBTV.com. We will be right back. Booyah! We are back. Round 2, Southern Nevada Sports News, coming to you from WWDBTV.com. This is the Knockout Round. My name is Bill Miller, co-host along with
Jeff Belknap.
And we are very fortunate to have a young man on our show out of Reno, Nevada, Bishop Manogue High School senior, Peyton P.J. Dixon. Peyton, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Oh, man, listen, thank you, young man, for taking time out of your schedule to be on the show. And do you prefer going by PJ or Peyton?
Oh, you can call me PJ. That works perfect.
Okay, no worries, man. We can oblige. That's for sure. So, just having completed your senior season at Bishop Manogue, and you just put up some absolutely monster numbers as a running back. But you're also playing free safety this past season as well?
Yeah, I played defense a little bit of free safety, but not too much.
Well, yeah. Well, you were pretty busy on the offensive side of the ball. So let's just throw the numbers out there: 3,143 yards.
Yeah, rushing.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
I think that's what it was.
Yeah, and 49 TDs.
49. Yeah. I think that sounds right. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't know whether to believe you or not. But listen, young man, congratulations on an absolutely epic senior season.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah. Did you play all 4 years at Bishop Manogue?
I did. Yeah. I started there as a freshman and finished as a senior.
Well, that is really refreshing to hear, because, you hear of, a lot of young people, kind of not finding the right fit or what they feel that maybe their family feels is not the right pick and, make on the move. So you played there since you were a freshman. Have you had the same head coach?
No. So I had 2 years of one coach, and then Coach Howland came in and as you guys have seen, he's changed Manogue as a program as a whole. He changed the whole culture there. So I'm really thankful for him. He's will help keep me there for those last 2 years on varsity.
Well, I think that certainly your success can be attributed to the type of offense that they put together that certainly highlights your skill set. And yeah, it's nice of you to, to certainly have those compliments from them. We encourage, our guests as far as shout outs are concerned. So feel free, to certainly send them out. We'll certainly give you an opportunity to. Are you, just to get this out of the way, of course you're on social media, right?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, I know. Listen, I'm 61. I have to ask the question. I probably already know the answer most of the time. But, yeah, of course you are, young man. And so what are your handles for your social media?
My Twitter handle is Peyton Dixon, and then an underscore at the end.
Okay.
And then my Instagram is p._.Dixon.
Nice.
Okay. Now, I understood that you also, played basketball as well for Manogue.
Yeah, so I ended up starting the season, but my schedule did not match with the basketball schedule, so my coach and I came to an agreement that I probably wouldn't be able to play this year. So I'm just focusing on track this season, and I've been busy with track work, so that has me busy.
So what do you actually run in track or jump? I guess.
So yeah, I do long jump, the 100, the 200. 4x1 and 4x2.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
Excellent. And then how did you guys do up there in Reno this year?
With your in track?
Yeah.
This past season, our 4x1, so one of our guys got hurt, and we had a replacement for state, but I think we still finished, I want to say 6th. I don't think we did very well. And then I think individually, I finished 3rd in the long jump, and I know I ran not great time in the 100 and finished not very well. I don't remember my place, but this senior season should be a different story from last year.
Nice.
For
Okay,
sure.
yeah, so you guys still have a track season coming up. So how's it looking? I mean, how is you're in training right now?
It's looking really good, yeah. So we just got a new coach, and I just met him yesterday. Actually, I think he should definitely set the tone and have a good culture for us to follow. And then as long as guys are going to stay healthy, we should have a really powerful, at least relay team from the boys' side as well as the girls' side too.
Oh, nice. That's excellent. So when did you start playing football?
Since the age of 5.
Wow.
I can imagine even younger than that, but yeah, I organized 5 at the age of 5 was my first year.
Wow, that is that's young. So you've really been doing this for a long time, more than half your life. So just about all of your life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you have any favorite teams? College, pro?
So I would definitely say Fresno State is my favorite college, for sure. And then with the team, my NFL team is the Steelers, and that's been since I came out the womb. My dad had a Steeler jacket on, and that black and gold has definitely been a huge part of my Sundays.
Yeah, I can. Steeler fans, they don't fool around. I mean, they're pretty loyal about that sort of thing. So I'm not surprised that he's not gonna let you go too far out of the comfort zone.
Wait, hold on, because I wear Lions stuff around, and my kids hate the Lions.
Yeah,
so
well,
what's up with that?
I don't know. I think maybe it has to, well.
What has to do with the Lions? Is that what you're saying?
Well, maybe just the level of success they've had.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wait, hey, this is the one thing I'm going to tell you when they do win, because they probably will happen at some point. I'm going to be the guy that stood there that whole time, looking dumb.
And then they will accuse you of jumping on the bandwagon.
Yeah, exactly, I'm sure. So what made you choose Fresno State? I mean, do you have some relationships there, or do you know some other people that went there? Or, I mean, what was it about Fresno that got you to commit?
The biggest thing for me was Coach Tedford. I mean, he was head and shoulders above other coaches that I've had conversations with. From day one, he felt genuine. And, I mean, the connections that he has and the way that he coaches and his style and even off the field, I mean, he's a guy that I connected with very quickly. And he was a big part of me going there. And it wasn't just him that helped me. It was as well as his staff. I mean, Coach Kane and Coach Christian, they came out and recruited me, the running back coach and the D-line coach. They're really great coaches, and they really helped push me along to make that decision.
That's great. I mean, obviously, UNLV and UNR. You're obviously a UNR fan, football fan.
Yeah. I grew up a big UNR basketball fan.
Oh, okay.
But football was a little different. I mean, when Colin Kaepernick was there, I was, of course, but they're a little streaky with football.
Well, I mean, the fact that they all play in the same conference means that you're gonna see Fresno. You know, you're either going to be able to go to a game, which is, reasonable distance, or, be able to catch them at home. So, I loved the fact that both the Carr brothers went there. I was like a huge fan of both of them. I mean, mainly because I was a sports bettor, and like those games always went over and won me a whole bunch of money. But, you're talking about athletes that come out of there and they know how to put players into the NFL. I mean, that's the biggest part.
Yeah. And as far as the, your family's concerned, it's not a long haul to go watch your games.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah. Well, you're now that you're in your senior year, and you can literally kind of count down the days to graduation. Has it just seemed like it's just blown by?
Yeah. This year, I've been trying to hold on to it. It's funny, my buddy and I were sitting at the first day of school talking to each other, saying we gotta hold on to the senior year because these 3 years have gone by too quick. And I just blinked, and I have about 6 months until I'm leaving off for Fresno. And it's just it's been a great year, and I really can't complain. Manogue has done a lot of great things for me, but it's flown by almost too quick.
Yes, that is nice. But I'm glad that you're trying to hold on to that last year as long as possible.
That's right.
Good for you. I mean, just it's amazing. It's like one day, you're just a freshman. You're trying to get the feel of the place, and the next time you look up, you're ready to start packing your bags and heading out of town. How was the process for you as far as finding the right fit, in terms of Fresno State? Because, we talked to, some young people who they really struggle with it. I mean, because you've got family pushing you and pulling you in certain directions. How was it for you?
It was definitely tough. I think my family supported me so well. They never leaned one way or another and never really pushed me for anything, so I'm really grateful for them in that fact. But when it came down to it, to my final schools, it was really tough because the relationships that I developed, just knowing that I'd be leaving some guys and not talking to these guys in this school, and it was just it was a really difficult decision. But at the end of the day, I'm very happy with what I've decided, and I'm definitely looking forward to walking through the doors of Fresno.
That's great. I mean,
that is.
You're going to be able to come down here, and we're going to be able to watch you play against UNLV. And on top of that, in a couple of years, you're going to be playing in the Raiders Stadium. I mean, what do you think about that?
Yeah, that'll be big. That was one of the big recruiting tools that UNLV used. That's a legit stadium that not very few places can be compared to, and being able to play in that once a year or however much it may be, that'll be special, just to be sitting right there on the 50-yard line and looking at the strip of Vegas. That's a pretty cool deal they have.
Yeah, in this monster jumbotron,
right.
Showing the previous play. It's and clearly it's it's been part of a recruiting tool locally here.
Oh, absolutely.
For UNLV athletes. But your family. I mean, how are they? I'm sure they're counting down the days as well. Suddenly, you're just not going to be coming in right after class and figuring out what's going to be for supper and that sort of thing, and be out on your own. How are they taking it?
Yeah, they've been good. I mean, you could tell they're trying to hold on to this time that they have with me while they have it. But they're good. I think we're both ready for me to move on for this next chapter in my life. Everybody's really excited. Definitely looking forward to it. But at the same time, trying to hold on to these last memories that we can make in these last 6 months.
That it is.
So have you chose a major at Fresno?
Yeah, I'm going to end up going to the business program. I'm just going to go into general business for now.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
That's like you can't lose, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
you could take that anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, with maybe the exception of medical school, but it's still there's nothing wrong with just a general business degree, and then find a specialty, but take your time and find out that after you're always think ahead. After you're through playing football, what do you want to wake up and do the rest of your life?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. So, outside of the coaches, I mean, do you got any other guys that you met as far as, who these guys that you're going to be playing with next year?
Yeah. So, I haven't met anybody in person, but I've definitely talked to them via social media, and it looks like the looks of it. I mean, of course, I've watched a lot of their highlights. It looks like we got a good class together and some good dudes that I'm definitely excited to see when I get down there.
It seemed like to me you'd want to make friends with all the linemen.
Of course.
If your mom bakes,
Right.
The first thing I'm doing when I walk in there is I gotta talk to all my linemen and make sure they're all set.
Oh yeah,
that's right.
That's
Yeah.
it, man. Yeah.
Yeah,
Find out what they like on their pizzas. And,
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah, do me a favor and blow a hole open for me. Speaking of that, the linemen that you had, from high school, I mean, any of these guys moving on, or I mean, what's the situation with these guys?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously the amount of yards that I had wasn't all me. I had a great line this year. My right tackle has an offer right now to Nevada. I mean, he's 6'8", 280 pounds, and he's an athletic freak. He's an athletic freak, so he should be good once he develops. And then my left tackle, he's a true freshman. He's a freshman, and he's 6'4", and he's playing at I think 260.
Wow.
And I think he was our most dependable lineman. He's a guy where I think he should have every offer in the country by the time he's a senior.
Yeah, and he's still
Hold on,
growing.
so he's what, 14 years old?
Yeah, he's still growing. I mean, my goodness gracious.
I think he turned 15 during the season.
So he's 15 and he's 6'4", what'd you say? 260?
Yeah, I think he was playing at 260 this year.
Oh, jeez.
Wow.
Yeah, he'll be the guy to look out for. He's a freak.
What is his name, by the way?
His name's Siape Vadakani.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
One
of
those island boys.
I'll have to look that one up.
Yeah, he's definitely still growing.
I'm certainly, Peyton, I'm certainly not going to ask you to spell that out for me. So.
He was playing for my team for a year, but I still would have a tough time spelling that one out.
Yeah, well,
awesome.
God bless him. I mean, my goodness gracious, yeah.
Well, I mean, these guys, and the Polynesian game's getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
And, I'm seeing a lot of these guys like developing and everything. It's getting excited. So, are you done playing for the year? I know that they played last week. They had a game down here in Vegas, a Lions game. Are you guys done for the season? You're just focusing on track?
Yeah, we're all done. It kind of sucks because I wish that we could get All-Star game up here. But yeah, for now I'm working on track and gonna try and hit my marks this year and then in my senior year with a bang.
Excellent. So, I mean, do you mind? Can we talk about grades? Can we talk about grade point average, or is that where are we at with it?
Yeah, definitely.
So where are you at?
So I'm sitting at a 3.1 core. I gotta check again. The last time I checked, I was sitting at a 3.1 core GPA, and I think it's 3.5 overall GPA.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
And,
Well done.
Yeah, the biggest thing was for UC Davis. That was my first offer. My grades weren't exactly. They weren't. My core GPA wasn't above a 3.0. And that offer was it was almost like a contingency. Like if of course, if I got my grades above a 3.0, then I could go. But if I didn't, then of course they couldn't accept me. So I made that promise to them that I would get my grades up. And right then and there, I took summer school, changed my classes, and did all that. And ever since then, I slipped up my sophomore year, but my junior and senior year, I've had great GPA. So
excellent.
Excellent.
Well, I think a lot of young athletes, they don't understand the importance of that. And now there's so many more players that that's like imperative. That's like where it can separate you from the rest of the field.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, that was something that I definitely didn't understand. My sophomore year, school got hard, times got tough, and I just kind of folded under the pressure. And then looking back on it, I got to a point where I realized that I'm going to need a good GPA if I'm going to continue to play football. And so I made sure to fix that up real quick.
Excellent. Well, the coaches are going to appreciate it because if they know that you're willing to study, that means you're willing to put the extra effort in the conference or in the watching film and doing all the other stuff as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I used to call it chalk talk.
Yeah.
Yeah. This now tells you how long ago. Yeah. Anyway.
When they used to actually have chalkboards.
Have chalk.
Oh,
and chalkboards. And that was it back then. Yeah. Hey, do you know of any the other some of the teams that you played up in northern Nevada that also had looked at or are going to Fresno State?
Yeah, so I'm actively recruiting the linebacker from Spanish Springs. He's a junior. He'll be a senior this next season.
Okay.
His name is Dixon. And,
yeah.
He was a force last year. For the past 2 years, he's been a force, and I think this year he'll get even better. And when he comes to Fresno, he can continue to progress there.
Oh, good. Yeah, using you to recruit. I love it.
Yep. Well, I mean, that's what you got to do, especially when you're talking about your linemen. I mean, you got a guy that you'll be a senior by the time this guy comes, but you're going to want to get your tackles over there too as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, of course. I mean, I got to get Fresno on him, and then as soon as they pull the trigger, I'm pulling him in.
Yeah, that's what you got to do.
Yeah.
So you played against a quarterback up there in the championship game from DeMonte Ranch that's going to Michigan. I mean, what was that like when? I mean, you guys played a huge game up there and knocked them off to play Gorman for the state championship. What was that like?
It was crazy, yeah. There's a whole backstory behind that. I grew up, so he and I grew up, and we played together on the same youth football league team, and I ended up parting ways with that whole group, and went to Manogue, went the private school route, and they went to DeMonte, and there were, of course, there was hard feelings with all that. And that was a game that I think the both of us were looking forward to, or both sides, both teams were looking forward to, because a large amount of kids ended up going to Manogue with me. And he was the leader of that team, and he and I were good friends. And it was very competitive. It was a game that no one really thought we would win, and it was a game that we all knew that we could win as long as we kept momentum on our side as soon as we went into it. And we ended up getting the win, and it almost felt like a movie. You know, our whole season was it wasn't all good until they whooped on us the first time, and we really got a reality check there. And we flipped our season on its back real quick, and then went to work, and you guys saw how it finished. It was I would say it was a pretty successful season for the team that we had.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
You guys did great.
All right.
good to
Well,
see.
listen, we're just about near the end of the show, which means it's time for us to put the questions to you, young man.
Yep.
All our guests, and you're now in a much better position than many of our guests from several months ago, and that is the prediction for the Super Bowl for 2019. Now, we've been asking this question since before the season even started,
Yep.
so you've got a little bit of an advantage here. So we're going to start with the first game on Sunday, and that's going to be the LA Rams at the Saints. Who do you like?
I like the Rams, but Drew Brees and Michael Thomas are hot right now, so I got to go with the Saints.
Saints. Okay. We've got half the pieces to the puzzle, and the last game is going to be the Patriots at the Kansas City Chiefs.
That is the Chiefs. Mahomes is a no-brainer in this situation.
Oh.
Woo! All right. So you've got New Orleans and the Saints, and who's going to win it all?
Mahomes. Mahomes is going to take it home.
Oh, wow.
I got to go with the Chiefs in that situation.
Wow. There you go. Okay.
That's big.
That is huge. Well, young man, needless to say, you'd got still about a minute. Would you like to send out any shout-outs?
Yeah, I have a lot of names. So I would like to shout out to, of course, Coach Howard for helping me along the whole entire process. Coach Katz for helping develop me as a player and a person on and off the field. Miss Lacombe for helping me with everything through school. Miss Thorson for helping me through everything, all my struggles, as well as my family, friends, as well as God for always helping me and having my back.
Amen.
Well, amen. And young man, we're certainly going to be keeping an eye on you, and we wish you, needless to say, the very best of luck in the remainder of your season year at Bishop Manogue. And we wish you, obviously, the very best of luck in your future endeavors at Fresno State University.
Yeah, please be friends of the show, man. You can call in anytime.
All righty?
Definitely. Thank you very much. Thank you, guys.
All right, thanks,
All right,
BJ.
man. Take care.
All right, you too.
All righty. Peyton P.J. Dixon, senior running back from Bishop Manogue High School.
Dude, how do you not root for a guy like that?
Yeah, this
This guy's great.
Yeah, and again, it has a lot of it has to do with the family that he gives so much props to, and the coaching staff that has steered him in the right direction. And it's so nice to hear those kind of accolades coming out of young men these days. I would like to thank everybody once again for joining us, and again, the hour has just blown by. We've got two really big games this weekend. I don't care where you're at, try to enjoy them as much as possible. But whatever you do, join us next Wednesday.
That's right.
6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for another installment of Southern Nevada Sports News coming to you from the WWDBTV.com. Have a great week.
God bless.